Again! This is one of those, how many people could have done this parts? Like, Costner, I think he overpowers it. Hanks isn't old enough yet.
Too soft.
Yeah, you're right. Hanks is almost too nice. I don't know if I could have bought him. Russell has the right kind of edge, right? Russell's perfect.
Hanks is doing this in a league of their own, pretty much. You forget it's Russell. Because I actually, like, when you think about, like, the best Russell performances, like, whether it's the Carpenter movies, like, the Escape from New York and Big Trouble in the Thing, Tombstone, Death Proof, whatever, like, they're all pretty charismatic characters. Even if they're, like, Snake Plissken, they're still really charismatic. He just is, like, Herb Brooks is a ball breaker. And, like, he never, ever, ever really breaks except for the Christmas party, which I think is actually the one thing that they added where they were like, Herb Brooks did not go to our Christmas parties. You know what I mean? But for the most part, you just completely get lost. And he is the spine of the movie. He's in almost every single scene. He is essentially like the driving force of the narrative, but also like the soul of the movie. And in a lot of ways, like, I sometimes wonder whether or not the reason why Miracle, do you think it's considered one of the best sports movies ever made?
No, I think it has some real flaws, which we'll cover.
But I think part of it is because it's like, it refuses to ever like to make concessions to movies. It's just like the movie is the movie like occurrence that happened where like the hockey team beat the Russians. They don't do anything else. They try with Patricia Clarkson and stuff where it's like, yeah, let's have a sweet side to this movie. Let's have a personal side to this movie. And they don't really pull it off. But Russell's just incredible. All the hockey stuff, all the halftime speeches or the pregame speeches is just amazing.
Well, he came on my podcast 4.5 years ago, and we're going to play a little clip here of Russell and I talking about how he felt about it. Because I think this movie meant a lot to him, but he thought the script was mediocre and they had to work with that. So we'll play that right now.
Miracle was a mediocre screenplay that had no opposite side to one of its two. You were watching two things. You're watching a coach, a man, and you're watching a group of young men. The group of young men aspect of it was really pretty good, but we already knew their story. The group, as opposed to the one man, we didn't know that story and we didn't know the man. I met Herb Brooks. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't know. I guess this was the most fun year of your life. And he looked at me. It was like, well, are you an idiot? And he looked at me. He said, are you kidding me? And I said, no, I don't know. He said, well, it was the loneliest year of my life. And I remember looking at Gavin O'Connor and saying, we have some work to do. And was able to get a lot from Herb, his dilemma. He was a man who had 3 national championships, a future in NHL, and he was putting it all on the line for a concept that nobody else was buying into.
Yeah.
It was tremendous. He wasn't just Simon Legree whipping the boys, going more. No, it had to be put into context. And there was really nothing in the screenplay about what the coach was doing behind the bench. So it didn't matter. We had to work on that. And I love that movie. It's also one of my favorite performances from Kurt Russell because I got the greatest accolade I've ever gotten out of that, which was when we went and had the premiere. Herb's grandson, who was like 3 years old at the time, about 4 or 5 minutes into the movie, I was sitting not too far from them. I heard his little voice go, Papa, or Poppy. I forget what it was, Poppy or Papa. And he was pointing at me, and I said, that'll do that. That'll do it for me.
You nailed what my review would have been of that movie if you'd asked me. Mediocre script, you were great in it.
It's a mediocre script. It's not a mediocre movie.
No,
I disagree with you if you think it's a mediocre movie.
I said mediocre script.
Yeah,
but you said mediocre script.
I agree with that.
I think the movie worked. But I think it worked because you were good.
I'm not laying something on the writers. I mean, I think they wrote the basics of it.
What are you going to do?
But there were some things that we needed to change, take out, put in, like you do on all movies. There's nothing different about Miracle in terms of that, in terms of the working on a script. But in particular, you needed to know what Herb had at stake, so that every time you're with Herb, you just didn't want to get back to the guys. It was like, okay, got it, Herb. You got it. You want to win. Got it. No, you got to understand what somebody's putting on the table that they may lose for their entire life, and that was fascinating.
He came to do the podcast. It was one of my favorite ones ever. Our office is in LA. It's in Hollywood in the Sunset Gower Studios, and we would have these celebrities would come, and they always would have like between 1 and 3 PR handlers. Right when they come, they're always with people. Russell comes. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning. He's wearing like a leather jacket. He's by himself. He looks like Kurt Russell. He stinks of Marlboro Reds. He's smoking cigs. It's just great. Like he puts his like keys and his Marlboro Reds on my table as he comes in. He's like, "Hey, I'm Kurt Russell," and it was just like a movie star.
Yeah,
and was just so cool. We talked about all the movies he made, all the choices he made, and it was. I haven't listened in a while, but it was stuff like me going through his IMDb and going, "So, what happened these 4 years where you didn't make any movies after Miracle?" And he's like, "I just got into wine." That was like a whole wine thing. But he was so cool talking about all the Carpenter and stuff. But it was so clear that he had such obvious affection for this particular movie because he loses himself in a character, which isn't, you always feel like it's Kurt Russell in a movie. This time he didn't. I felt like he lost himself in the Herb Brooks thing. Where does this rank on the Kurt Russell pantheon for you?
I have 6 or 7, maybe 5.
I have Escape from New York 1. I have The Thing 2. I have Tombstone 3. I fucking love Tango and Cash, but there might be something wrong with me. I'm not going to defend it, but I would have that 4. And I think Miracle's 5 for me. I don't love Big Trouble in Little China as much as you.
Yeah, I love him in that. A couple other ones that we didn't mention is he's really, really good in Silkwood.
Yeah.
And he's great in the Tarantino stuff later with Death Proof and Hateful Eight.
I think that was one of the hardest I've ever made you laugh over the years. It was something about something had happened, and I was like, I went home and I took a Silkwood shower. It just fucking slaughtered you. It was like after like a 7 a.m. night in New Orleans or something. Like, went home and took the Silkwood shower.